All right, what's happening here on a nice Tuesday morning? We got another knife review for you. Today, got the Mini Crooked River. So this knife showed up yesterday. I also put out my Hogue Deca review yesterday. But after one day of break, I want you guys to look at this. Phenomenal. Just playing with it a little bit last night. Love the look with the pocket clip. Sweet. So, the Mini Crooked River. So, I showed in an earlier video, I got this titanium kit for it. It comes with scales, backspacer, and the pivot washers. So I had put these on here last night, and I showed the whole thing on the knife in my Hogue Deca video. So if you want to see it with everything on there, go to the Hogue Deca video about 7 minutes and 45 seconds in, and you'll see what it looked like with everything on there. But here's the thing. I got one of these knives ordered in the mail, and FedEx pretty much lost it. And the reason I say pretty much, it ended up showing back up a week later. So after about 4 days of my delivery status pending with no delivery date, I contacted the seller to make sure if it did show up I could return it, and I ordered another one. So the other one showed up yesterday, and lo and behold, the FedEx one just randomly showed up yesterday. The last tracking was far as shit away, and then it just pops up at my house. Here you go. No tracking. Who cares? So let's go ahead and open this thing up. And it came with your bag, paperwork, all that standard stuff we've all seen a bunch of times. And here it is. The Mini Crooked River. So, like I said, I had this whole other titanium kit on there. And then I looked at the other one I got, because I had two of them. And I realized the wood grain is what makes this knife. I absolutely love the wood on it. Without it, knife just looks kind of weird. Doesn't fit right. So I ended up taking it all back off, and then I did just the pivot washers and the backspacer. And I like that look, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave it stock for a day or two, see how I like that. I might go back to the pivot washers and backspacer. So yeah, also the titanium scales don't come with a left-handed clip option, and on my Para 3 I was able to drill through those scales because the factory liners is what the clip screwed into. On this one, that's not the case. You can see on the scales here, the screws screw into the scales on these knives, and it has that special little retainer in there that's metal to catch the screws. So wouldn't have worked. And I really, like I said, the wood grain makes this knife. Now what's funny is I had both these knives out playing with them, and this one, which was the FedEx one I thought was lost, was super sharp. I mean, as sharp as you'd expect it to be. And the other one would barely cut paper. I mean, it was, the fit and finish wasn't as good. Everything was just a little loose on it. So I'm going to send that one back and keep the good one. But I thought that was just kind of shitty as far as quality control goes. You get two of the exact same knife. One's pretty crappy and one's alright. So if I just would have got that other one, I wouldn't have been as happy as I am with this one. This is slowly turning into my favorite knife here. And that's saying something. I just really like the look. So I might end up, like I said, going back. I'll put the back spacer in, and then the silver pivot washers, so it just gets rid of the orange and leaves the wood grain. Makes it a little less flashy, and I think it ties in together well. But I'm just going to leave it like this for a few days. As you can see, I do have the deep carry clip on here. It's just a standard Benchmade one. I've got in the mail 2 bug out clips. Probably going to put one on here because when I go to grab this one, pretty big hot spot from that clip. So if it was a little shorter, probably be better. And then I've got my Mini Freak, which I'm about to do the video on here in a minute. And I'm definitely going to put one of those on there because it just comes with a standard clip as well. So yeah, S30V. It's a little lock stick at first. I played with it last night, pretty much worked it out. You have to have the pivot really loose on this one. If you tighten it up much at all, it won't snap back from right here on. And that's a problem when you're closing it, because once it gets to a certain point, it pulls it shut. But if you get the pivot just even like finger tight, barely finger tight, it doesn't want to close. It's like the spring doesn't work from here. So it's super loose right now. Let's see if I can show you how loose it is. I mean, yeah, just 2 fingers to barely turn it, and that's let me show you how to get it just a little bit tighter. See, I turned it like a 1/10 of a turn, and the spring won't pull it back in. So you re-loosen it, go to where it just starts to give resistance, pulls it back in. So what I'm going to do once I decide what I really want to keep on here, whether I go with the Titanium's back spacer and silver pivot screw washers, once I do that and decide where I'm going to stay with it, I'm going to put some Loctite on there and get it where I want it. So yeah, we'll sharpness test right quick. Like I said, this one came pretty sharp. The other one would barely cut paper, but this one, this one's really sharp, which is weird. This one's close to as sharp as my Hogue. This Hogue came, let me just show you. I know I've got a video on this, but you may have just found this video, so. Probably one of the sharpest knives I've got out of all my Spydercos, Benchmades. And this is a 20 CV steel, so it's a super steel, and it's stupid sharp, and it's got a nice polished edge. That's gonna end up in my pocket quite a bit, to be honest. On this one, you see it's got the classic Benchmade kind of rough edge. Let's see if I can get a better picture. This one's actually pretty good compared to that other one, man. I just couldn't believe the difference in how dull it was compared to this one. This one, pretty sharp. I've got a strop on the way. I've got some stones I stone the knives on, but these knives are also sharp. I ordered a strop, and just every week or so, if I use them, just strop them up, keep them razor sharp. I'm gonna try to strop a few that aren't as sharp, that are still pretty sharp, and see how much of a difference it makes. From what I've seen online, I've seen people take knives that wouldn't cut paper, strop it for 5 minutes, and it cuts through paper like this knife. So see if I can strop this knife for 5 minutes and get it absolutely razor sharp. Would be nice. So yeah, overall, I really like this knife. I love the design. So you can see it's got a thinner handle here, and it just feels good in the hand. And then it's got this thicker blade. You know, the handle's pretty thin for the thick blade, and it looks good close. The blade doesn't stick out very far. It just makes kind of a straight line down here. Pretty smooth action out the box. Pretty happy with that. Like I said, it took a little playing with it. Doesn't really fall shut right now. It was falling shut last night. I may have... Let's try something here. So now it's not tight at all. Still didn't want to fall initially. There we go. As you can see how loose that is. So yeah, once I figure out how I want to keep it, a little Loctite in there, and that'll set the screw wherever I want to keep it, and won't have a problem then. So this is, you can hear that little bit of lock stick there still. What I found that works really well with lock stick is right there on that flat part, where the lock connects to the back of the blade here. Take a little Sharpie. You just color in right on the edge. Just like that. You can also use a mechanical pencil with mechanical pencil lead. And also what you do is you pull these down, and the little rim in there where the axis lock rides, because a lot of times that's what actually sticks, is your axis lock on the side of your inner liners here. And if you do accidentally get a little bit on the edge of the knife, just wipe it off. So you just do this for a few days until you break the knife in, and it's worked really well for me. My Presidio 2, my first Benchmade I got, this one, where it's a big knife, it's got big axis lock springs, Omega springs. They're much bigger than this one. It's much harder to pull. This thing was getting so stuck. I mean, I had to hold it down and use 2 hands to break it loose. I put some Sharpie on the blade tang there and on the liners from the axis lock, and now it doesn't lock stick at all. So I read that on a forum looking for troubleshooting issues here, because I took this one completely apart the day I got it, and didn't help at all. So I went with that Sharpie. You can see there's none left now. Oh, there's a tiny bit left, but it wore. I did it a couple times, wore through it. I was banging my elbow on the corner of my desk, but wore through it. Lock stick, no more. So now that I let that dry, oh man, that feels so much better. There's no clicking when you pull it, and now it just falls shut. How about that? I don't know if that was the Sharpie or the messing with the pivot there. I was messing with the pivot. So yeah, overall, if you're wondering about this knife, I would recommend it. It looks even better in person. I like the look of the orange. I may get tired of it here in a few days and put the carbon fiber backspacer. And the thing about the carbon fiber backspacer is the carbon fiber pattern is on the side of it. So on the back, it's just lines going down. You can't even tell it's carbon fiber. So, but yeah, the carbon fiber scales on this thing, I think they take a lot away from the overall look of how the knife was designed to be. The only scales I would probably put on it would be darker wood scales, like a black wood scale like they did on the customs from the factory would be nice. But other than that, I'm just going to leave it stock for now. So I appreciate you guys watching. This video went a little long, but I really enjoy this knife. I'm going to do the video of the Mini Freak here in just a minute, and that should be up right after this video. Alright, I'll have a good one.